Lin Yu Ting was born in 1995 and is one of 3 siblings. Lin used to watch anime with an older brother, and this is believed to be the inspiration behind going into boxing. Lin also took up boxing in a desire to protect his mother from DV. Yes, that's right. In the first year of junior high school, Lin began boxing. By the second year, Lin certainly stood out and began winning competitions in Taiwan. Is it any wonder when this is the time when a boy goes through the latter stages of puberty? In 2013, at the age of 18, Lin won a gold medal for the first time at the Women World Youth Championships. And this was the first for Chinese Taipei at this event. In 2017, Lin won gold again at the ASBC Elite Boxing Championships. The following year, Lin won bronze at the 2018 Asian Games, the first medal for Chinese Taipei in 48 years. Lin won another gold medal later that year at the AIBA World Women's Championships. And it was gold again at the ASBC Elite Boxing Championships in 2019, and bronze later on that year at the AIBA Championships. And it's no surprise that Lin made it all the way to the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. Didn't win a medal that time though. And in 2023, as we know, Lin, along with Aman Khalif, were disqualified from the World Boxing Championships. The reason cited was that these 2 boxers failed a gender eligibility test, a sex chromosomal test. This was a test conducted by the International Boxing Association. It simply means that the IBA found out that these 2 boxers were male. Apparently there were suspicions about these boxers for a long time, and the IBA finally decided to do the tests, and they failed, proving that they didn't have XX chromosomes, proving that they were not females, and therefore should not be competing in women's boxing. In the same world, absolutely everybody should be against male boxers punching women in the face, males perpetrating violence against female athletes. Everybody should be against that. But people simply didn't want to believe it. They said the IBA were Russian-backed and therefore corrupt and could not be trusted. Their test results were called illegitimate. The 2 boxers even threatened legal action if any of the results were to be leaked. Therefore, it was treated as strictly confidential. But the press ran with this and said that the IBA isn't being transparent. The IBA haven't actually issued any results.
There's been some issues in terms of some of these reports being influenced, especially with the Olympic committees, by Russia. And there's been a lot of pushback in that Russian Federation, angry that they have, especially in the Olympic community, have been ostracized and pushed out for several reasons, violating the rules when it comes to steroids and pumping their athletes with an advantage. They're acting out by funding sort of rogue organizations that appear to be totally universally accepted with these reports that are flawed.
It was being reported that these 2 boxers were simply women with high testosterone and they were being targeted. Or it was Russia that didn't want these boxers going on to win medals for their countries.
Higher testosterone levels throughout puberty influence a person's athletic advantage, right? Because it's not just the testosterone level that indicates whether or not someone's going to perform better. Even after their testosterone levels are suppressed, if they've gone through puberty as a man, they have longer wingspans, they have greater lung capacity, greater heart function. These are all things that contribute to a man having a competitive advantage over a woman.
So I have endometriosis. I have higher testosterone. I'm a woman.
Okay.
Does that mean that I have an advantage over sports because I have endometriosis?
In fact, the IBA never tested for testosterone. Testosterone levels can be altered. It is not a true reflection determining whether one is male or female. But what was tested were their chromosomes. 2 blood tests were given, and both times, both boxers failed the test, meaning they failed to establish that they had XX chromosomes. In fact, a Y chromosome was detected, and it was confirmed that these two boxers are male.
I'm trying to say that the medical result, lab result, looks and stated laboratories that this boxer is male.
Once again, the fallacy of a woman with high testosterone was pushed, and people were spreading all sorts of lies, especially via social media and LGBTQ outlets, saying that Imam Khalif was born with a uterus, has female anatomy, so couldn't possibly be male. Information saying that these two boxers were born female. Then the real gaslighting began. People were saying that as these boxers have identification with the F marker, with the female marker, that made them women, and that made them eligible to compete in women's boxing. And the organisation pushing this narrative the most was the IOC, but it's not unheard of in certain countries where the healthcare isn't as advanced, for babies born with abnormalities, for babies born with DSD and obscure genitalia to be labelled the wrong sex. But by puberty, it usually becomes very apparent whether one is male or female. Even people who are intersex, babies born with disorders of sex development, they still are either male or female. These two boxers were not females born with abnormalities, and at least with one of them it's been confirmed has a condition that only affects males. Apparently, a piece of paper takes precedence over a Y chromosome, and people were all too happy to allow these two male boxers to compete in women's boxing at the expense of the safety and the health of female athletes, at the expense of fairness for female athletes who work very hard, who dream to go to the Olympics like any other athlete.
But it is believed that they were sort of basically intersex, that they were born with not very easily identifiable sexual organs when they were born, and both were raised as girls. But actually, when testing was done, they established that actually they had male chromosomes, and they've been mistakenly raised as girls. They are men.
Well, if they have the condition that Caster Semenya has, and we know about that because of Semenya taking it to the courts and everything was published, then they would be babies who were thought to be girls or who had ambiguous genitals when they were born, registered as girls, but would have gone through a full male puberty. And at that point, all would have become clear. And you're right, we don't know about these two. The reason we don't know is because they've insisted that no one's allowed to say.
Is it any wonder that the IBA alluded to these two boxers deliberately deceiving sporting bodies, masquerading as females, knowing full well that they are indeed males? But to them, it doesn't matter. After all, when somebody who doesn't have obscure genitalia, who clearly knows that he's a man, wants to now identify as a woman and compete in women's sports. At the time, in 2024, the IOC was all for that. So these two boxers, as well as transgender athletes who are male, had a sense of entitlement of being able to compete in the women's category, regardless of the fact that they aren't women. Perhaps the support of the IOC at the time, the support from various coaches who did nothing but knew that these boxers were male, the support of the public who were conditioned to believe that it's okay for men to compete in women's sports, and the lack of chromosomal sex testing gave these athletes the message that it was okay for them to compete, even to the extent of entering into the ring with females, Lin and Imam Khalif, who were marked female from birth. And for many, that was enough. That was enough to make the absurd claim that these two boxers were born female, were born women. Imam Khalif threatened various lawsuits, including against J.K. Rowling, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump. Lin, on the other hand, remained silent, even seemed to quietly disappear, while Imam Khalif remained defiant. The two boxers were given an opportunity to appeal the decision, and they did not. Imam Khalif began an appeal, but never saw it through. And both boxers signed the test results, acknowledging receipt of the results, and it became legally binding, like the various lawsuits he allegedly began. He started, but never finished. And most importantly, at no point did either boxer do their own tests with a doctor they trusted, with a facility of their choosing, to prove that they have XX chromosomes. Nothing till this day, when a simple cheek swab will suffice. A simple, non-invasive cheek swab, contrary to what we've been told about sex testing. The medical test results of Imam Khalif were leaked, confirming the presence of XY chromosomes, as well as male genitalia. And that was the end of that. But till this day, Imam Khalif vows to return to women's boxing, and Lin remained silent as the World Boxing Championships came and went. Perhaps that was because of the mandatory genetic sex testing that was introduced. Lin and Khalif also missed the Eindhoven Box Cup in the Netherlands. That competition came and went. Those pesky gender eligibility tests got in the way once again. And many believed that that was the end of it, that we wouldn't see the likes of Lin in women's boxing stepping into the ring with female athletes. Many believed that was a thing of the past, but many didn't consider the national competitions and the national sporting bodies that are allowing this boxer to compete in Taiwan. All of the achievements in boxing over the years from 2013 weren't really achievements, but opportunities stolen from female boxers. Opportunities for female boxers to win gold medals at World Boxing Championships, at the Olympics even, or even to qualify for these events. These opportunities were taken by a male boxer. Opportunities taken from female athletes that they can never get back again. Opportunities in sports that could help them provide for their families. Opportunities to travel. Opportunities to gain more notoriety in the sports. And even the opportunity to turn professional. All of these opportunities were taken from female athletes, and it's still being taken from female boxers in Taiwan. Lin denied female boxers the opportunity to win gold in Paris, as well as the opportunity for a female athlete to represent her country in Paris. And Taiwan doesn't seem to care because Lin is still punching women in the face there. One female boxer who knows about this all too well is Pan Yanfei, a 19-year-old boxer from China. This 19-year-old girl stepped into the ring with a male boxer and lasted 94 seconds. Her coach threw in the towel after seeing that she was in distress upon receiving the first punch. It was reported that she had difficulty breathing, difficulty recovering from that one punch. This is what happens when women step into the ring with male athletes. This is a no-brainer. This is why we have women's boxing. We don't even have co-ed boxing. Even training with men can be dangerous. We know this. But because somebody was labelled the incorrect sex from birth, we've allowed this person to continue in women's boxing, and it's still being allowed. Lin won another gold medal at Taiwan's National Games in the women's category. The National Games of the Republic of China saw its 114th Games begin on October 18. This annual event takes place in Yulin. Lin now competes in the 60 kilo category, and Lin is now stepping into the ring with teenage girls and unashamedly punching them. The first gold since the 2024 Paris Olympics. The fact is, these male boxers, these male athletes, they don't care how they win. They just want to win. They don't care whether they've won fairly. They just want the gold medal. They just want the notoriety. They just want to achieve in sports what they know they can't achieve when competing against other men. They want the medals and the accolades and the money they know that they couldn't possibly obtain competing in the correct category. So the result of that particular match was recorded as abandoned rather than a knockout. Pan is a youth level boxer and represents her school. She used to compete in the under 22 category. She won a national high school title in 2023. She's an up-and-coming boxer. She moves up to the senior level and now has to compete against a man. Let's face it, this is what we're dealing with here. And I pray that her light isn't snuffed out in sports before she has the opportunity to excel. When women have to compete against males, it's their career that suffers. How many women, how many female athletes' names are we unaware of today? Because they, somewhere along the way, ended up competing against men. After the match, her condition was described as stable. So I hope she is okay now. Lin went on to face Wu Peiyi. It was an explosive opening round. Wu was reportedly knocked to the canvas 2 times in the first round, but came back to fight for the second. It was at this point that her coach threw in the towel. She even landed punches, but ended up stepping back and walking away. Her team then ended up throwing in the towel at her request. When Lin realized what was going on, the male boxer smirked while looking in Wu's direction. And Lin's coach, Seng Zhu Shang, said the following: "It was good. We just did the preparations we were supposed to do." When asked about the World Boxing Championships and the mandatory sex testing, the coach seemed to imply that Lin had submitted some results, but they're still waiting to hear back. And they don't think that this boxer is going to be able to compete because they haven't heard back. That's what they're going with. Lin was not able to compete at the World Boxing Championships in September, apparently because they haven't heard back. So they don't know whether Lin's going to be able to compete in future World Boxing competitions. I would guess no. The coach reportedly said, "It depends on whether the result comes out. If it does, there will be many international events we can take part in." All of that sounds like saving face to me, because you're competing in competitions in Taiwan, but you're banned internationally. You're banned internationally for a reason. Once again, Lin has won another gold medal and denied that medal to a female boxer. But even more disturbingly, in Taiwan, women are still facing violence from male boxers and facing the impact of punches that are typically 2.5 times stronger than that of their female opponents. As long as the national sporting bodies continue to fail to protect these women, losing out on medals and opportunities is the least of their worries. They are being left open to lose a lot more. You can't put a price on life. I hope Pan Yanfei and Wu Peiyi are both doing okay. They didn't fail in any way. Those who failed are the sporting bodies that refuse to protect them. But what I would say is next time, don't even step into the ring. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.